Solutions for Youth Employment. It's a global program. It's housed in the World Bank, and it brings together a large number of partners on the agenda of youth employment, particularly focusing on innovation and knowledge. Loosely speaking, the network has 4 or 5 components. And I'm sure a lot of you already know, you hear me say this at the beginning of every webinar, but there are lots of new people who are joining us. So very quickly, S4Y essentially has 3 or 4 or 5 components. As I said, there's a steering committee, small group of board members that drive the strategic direction of S4Y. It has what we call a network of NGO-led programs and projects that are running in different parts of the world, particularly selected for doing something innovative. These are about 44 NGOs, and we bring them together into, it's almost like a learning laboratory. We learn from each other and we have regular technical sessions. So that's one. The second component, very important one that we launched more recently, is our Private Sector Advisory Council. So that's again about 35 to 40 private companies that really believe that they need to be doing something about the youth employment agenda, and they are rolled up their sleeves and have joined S4Y. So that's another component. A third one is youth themselves. So that's 17 young people who have joined us. They're part of our board meetings. They're part of everything we do, just to make sure we are listening to young people as we design anything in S4Y. And the last is an internal network within the World Bank Group, because you can imagine youth employment is an agenda that several technical teams in the bank, housed in different global practices like agriculture, digital development, urban development, social protection and jobs. I mean, all of these technical global practices have an interest in youth employment and have operations collectively about 17 billion have been in are currently is what the bank is investing. The World Bank Group is investing in youth employment in terms of operations in different parts of the world. So what we try to do very regularly, you must have been part of these conversations, is that we pick a particular thing that a partner is doing, and we bring it up and discuss it in the hope that we are learning from each other. And very often what we are seeing is some of these lead to more partnerships between people. So a very warm welcome to you all again. And just to say, the audience today is, again, like I said, a mixture of World Bank teams from different parts of the world, but also several partners from either our private sector or our impact portfolio. So that's the audience for today. Okay, let's kick this off. So the topic of today's discussion is entrepreneurship. What is happening to entrepreneurs, some of them young, some of them new entrepreneurs, some of them just having launched their business, some of them established ones as well. What is going on, and what is the kind of support that entrepreneurs need in this very, very difficult time that we've had all through last year, and it's still ongoing. And I'm so delighted that we have a really wonderful panel today. All of them are partners of S4Y. So I'm so delighted to invite Anita Tiessen, who is the CEO of Youth Business International. It's one of the largest NGOs. They do a lot of really good work all over the world to support entrepreneurs, particularly doing lots of innovative things. And YBI has partnered with 2 private companies, Accenture, and I'm really delighted to invite Roshni Venkatesh from Accenture. She is part of Accenture's corporate citizenship team. And also Marija Ralic, who is part of Google.org, particularly the part of Google that works with philanthropies, I believe. So Google and Accenture teamed up with YBI to develop this new rapid response and recovery initiative that Anita will talk about. And then I'm also very delighted that Nilima Tippa-Vajala, who is the CEO of Coco Tank from India. So she's an entrepreneur. So she's joining us today. She runs a company called Coco Tang, which has
This meeting
the
is no
coconut
longer being
milkshakes. I mean, that's
recorded.
what they produce, which I find really fascinating. So she will tell us, she will share with us what it means to be an entrepreneur at this time, and how is she managing in these difficult circumstances, and what can we collectively do to support people like her. So I'm going to keep quiet now and hand it over to Anita. Very warm welcome to all the four panelists. Anita, it's over to you. I believe you will share your screen and you have some slides. And just before I let Anita take over, I just wanted to say to everyone, I would just request you all to mute yourselves, please. And also, if you're not speaking, maybe keep your videos off. I just don't want technical issues. I mean, that would be a pity if that spoils the conversation. Okay, so a warm welcome to you, Anita. Over to you.
Thank you very much. And I find my presentation is halfway through, so I'm just going to see if I can get it back to where it's supposed to be very quickly. Excellent. Here we are. Let me just get that onto. 1 second. This should be perfect. Inevitably, when you have a presentation where you talk a little bit about digital, you have a few glitches in the startup. Nimita, thank you so much for that very, very warm introduction and for facilitating this learning session, which we're really excited about. As Nimita mentioned, YBI has been part of S4YE, I think, since the beginning, and we find it an extraordinary opportunity to connect the World Bank at the biggest level, private sector, NGOs, and young entrepreneurs on the ground. I'm going to tell you a little bit about YBI, introduce our partners, and then materially tell you about the 4 key learnings from the work we have done to support entrepreneurs in the past year. So again, that's me. I'm CEO of Youth Business International. So a little bit about us. YBI supports disadvantaged young people around the world to start, grow, and sustain businesses. So it's all about youth entrepreneurship. And of course, the wider impact is that entrepreneurship for young people can help create decent work, more inclusive economic growth, and that wider impact on livelihoods and communities. And increasingly, we have a focus on inclusive, sustainable, and digitally enabled economic growth. I think that case has been so underscored in the past year. We are around the world, so we're now a global network operating in 65 countries. We work with ESOs, or entrepreneurship support organizations, that are locally rooted, and the private sector to act as a platform that drives innovation and creates impact at scale to support entrepreneurs. And you can see in the dots where we are present around the world. Anita did a very warm introduction to Accenture and to Google. And I'll just say a little bit more, that we've worked with Accenture for more than a decade. It's been a very long-standing partner of ours. And Google, we teamed up with more recently in the context of COVID. So Accenture has really helped build the YBI network and the YBI network's capability to provide really top-notch support to entrepreneurs on the ground, both at that human and business level, but also in terms of driving digital and innovation. And Roshni will say more about that when I hand over to her shortly. And then working with Google.org specifically in the last year on our COVID response has really helped us to ramp up quickly across some 30 countries with the aim of reaching 200,000 underserved business owners to really make the shifts and get the support that they need to survive this crisis. And it's been a fantastic collaboration, which has provided both financial support, but really great support from the Google employees as well with their digital expertise. And they'll tell you a little bit more about the work that we've done together shortly. So in terms of the COVID response, so across the network, because we're focused on youth entrepreneurship, so young business owners, obviously, the economic impact of the pandemic had a huge effect on the young people that we support. And so across our whole network, a range of activities, which I'll tell you about, were undertaken. And gathering the data on all of that, there's 4 key we have learned, and I would like to share those with you now. So just at a headline level, they are about the importance of stimulating and supporting business pivots that are for businesses to survive and ultimately grow, critically enabling digital solutions that offer that promise of survival, but also new ways of working, the crucial importance of emotional resilience at this time, and the importance of investing in inclusive outreach and programs. And I'm going to take those one at a time just to give you a bit more depth to what we've learned. So if I start with the business pivots first, obviously around the world, as soon as COVID hit, whether you were in a country with a lockdown or a country where there are major health issues, business as usual stopped. And entrepreneurs had to think very, very quickly. Either their business model was no longer relevant, the product they were offering was no longer relevant. They had to make very, very quick changes. So again, across our network, the kind of support that we offered was technical support. So webinars and training on strategic planning, crisis and financial management, understanding clients during a time of crisis, married with mentoring and advisory support, some more one-on-one support, and then wider kind of group activities, so business clinics or hackathons that brought entrepreneurs together to share experiences and new solutions. And what we've really taken away from all of that is that the business pivots that entrepreneurs have to make will be very individual, depend on their business, their context, their own resources, but also the country that they're in or the market segment that they're in. So not every solution is appropriate to everyone. But that what does work, particularly in this time of great need, is creating those dedicated spaces where just for an hour or a couple of hours, an entrepreneur can step away from the business and think with others about what solutions can I come up with, what experiences are others having that I might draw from. And that the people who are providing the advice, the staff, the advisors, the mentors, really need up-to-date information and advice on how to support entrepreneurs through rapid and potentially ongoing pivots. Because a lot of mentors, for example, know how to do ongoing mentoring, but this was crisis mentoring, and they needed special support for that. But it was that technical and that personal support was really, really important. Turning to the next area, hang on. Oh, sorry, go back. Nope. Sorry, I've zoomed to thanking you. I think this should be working now. Just hang on a second. Okay, so of course, as I'm talking about digital, something went wrong with my digital, and I will try to get this onto a better thing. So as part of those business pivots, digital solutions were absolutely critical. I mean, we all know from our own experiences that everybody's had to go virtual, everyone has had to go digital, and that's been an absolute critical element. And working with Google and Accenture, which have different expertise in this space, has been hugely, hugely helpful. I think because of our particular focus on underserved entrepreneurs and across the world, including in developing economies, I think probably one of the key issues has been that technology has impacted businesses in different ways, and the opportunity to embrace technology has really been affected by the infrastructure in the country you're in. It might have been affected by your gender, your own financial resources and so forth. So I think under the broad assumption that everybody has had to go digital, it has been much more challenging for others. So in that context, to get across the network, some of what the things we've done is actually providing technical equipment. So laptops, smartphones, data credit, so people could actually go virtual. And for those who didn't really know how to do it, digital literacy training for those who really had a low starting point in digital capability. And then getting more into the business end of digital, so e-commerce, social media, digital marketing and advertising. I think we'll hear from Neelima later on that this was kind of a revelation in terms of how to run a business. And then personal support and how to adopt those approaches. And I know from what we're going to hear from Marija, that some of the support from the Google employees has been hugely helpful in that space. And of course, as entrepreneurship support organizations ourselves, we've had to make that shift and have learned how to deliver digitally. And I think one of the unexpected insights that came from all of that work is that we were able, in some cases, to actually reach more entrepreneurs than we might have otherwise. But not assuming that everybody has the same starting point or operates in the same digital environment is critical, and making sure they get the support they need to move forward is critical. Moving to my fourth point about emotional resilience. Again, we all know from our own experiences that work and home and health and economic impacts, they've all come together as one. And this has really been true for entrepreneurs, I think, particularly for those that maybe are newer in their businesses, had not yet become completely established. And here we have really, really prioritized something that YBI's members think is hugely important at Anyway, which is that personal support. So we've offered ongoing mentoring support, training on soft skills, peer-to-peer events and spaces where people could connect, and at the height of the crisis, helplines. And really the key insight coming out of all of this is that a good mentoring relationship can absolutely be the difference between business success and failure, especially at a time of crisis. And linked to that is that peer-to-peer support and learning is vital. We offered various virtual events that connected entrepreneurs across the globe. And while they loved the learning, they loved the connection with each other just as much. So that emotional support at times that are particularly emotionally challenging is really, really important. And I think Roshni is going to speak a little bit more to that. And then finally, about inclusive programming, just the importance of investing it in developing it to be truly inclusive and to reach the people who need the support the most. And again, across the work, there were projects that were focused specifically on women, specifically on rural areas, in some cases, refugees and migrants. And there was a whole range of adaptations in terms of how programs were marketed, how outreach was undertaken, how the actual support was manifested itself in terms of translation, in terms of the pace of learning, and all of that really hinged on knowing your entrepreneurs. So repeatedly throughout the last year, our members and delivery partners have constantly checked with what do the entrepreneurs need, how can we best deliver that support, and never assuming that one size fits all. And of course, doing all of that can take more money, can take more time, but absolutely pays off in delivering the support to the people who need it most. So those were the four key takeaways: supporting business pivots, digitalized transition, emotional resilience, and inclusivity. And I would now like to hand over to Marija Ralic, who does lead Google.org's work in APAC. It's the philanthropic arm of Google. And she's going to tell you a bit more about the work that we did together. So over to you, Marija.
Thank you so much, Anita. I will be presenting my slides.
Oh.
Everybody.
Right. Thank you so much, Anita, and thank you, Namita, and everyone for having us today. Good morning and good afternoon and good evening to everyone. As Anita said, my name is Marija Ralic, and I lead our Google.org efforts across Asia Pacific. So I will be sharing more about our efforts in Asia Pacific and EMEA, and our support to the YBI's Rapid and Response Recovery Program, as well as how we pivoted some of our efforts when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, as well as how we engaged our volunteers in our efforts in supporting these organizations during this crisis. So At Google.org, Google Philanthropy, our goal is really to bring the best resources of Google to complex societal problems by mainly connecting the innovative nonprofit organizations and social entrepreneurs with a unique blend of support. Google.org goes beyond just the grant funding, and whenever possible, we combine our resources, the best resources of Google, to supporting these organizations. And when I talk about the three main resources, the first one is funding, the second one technology, and the third one volunteers. Speaking about the funding, our goal is to use our philanthropic capital to support the sector, to take some informed risk, to spur some innovation, and also provide some comprehensive support for marginalized communities. Speaking about technology, we connect organizations to leading Google technology experts, and quite often we work to make our own products, such as Workspace, Maps, and Ads, more accessible to these nonprofit organizations. We believe that big ideas can happen when you don't shy away from these big ideas, and especially when you pair those ideas with emerging technology. Google Volunteers are the third resource from Google, and we hear from organizations that we support consistently tell us that they want to do some more with technology, but it can be really hard sometimes for them to retain the right talent. So what we do from our side, we match nonprofit organizations with Google employees who want to volunteer their skills and time. So what we did when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, being rooted in this fundamental approach really enables us to adapt our strategy whenever crisis hit or there are new world changes. The magnitude of COVID-19 pandemic was really significant, and the way it has been already hit some of our organizations and the world, and will continue to hit our society, is really profound. There are so many ways there are so many needs these organizations have, and that requires a new framework for our work across the board. So when COVID hit, we, along with the rest of our company, shifted most of our resources to effectively supporting these organizations, focusing on areas where we have the biggest impact. Globally, Google.org supported organizations with $100 million to the global COVID-19 responses, and mainly those initiatives are in economic relief and recovery. The second one is distance learning and education, and the third one in health and humanitarian. So we know that, as Anita said, we know that the best answers often come from those who are closest to the problems. And we look for nonprofit innovators who understand the need of the local communities, or the marginalized people, vulnerable people, and in their communities and around the globe. These innovators create quite often new and unexpected solutions to address inequalities. From our side, we are looking for areas where we feel like we can leverage our unique expertise as Google. So we are looking for projects that are unique, they have some technology or maybe some innovative approach, or really a data-driven solution that we feel like connects us back to who we are as a company. Small and medium enterprises and micro SMEs are the heart of Asia Pacific, and especially in Southeast Asia economy, they're an integral part of the communities. They're contributing more than 80% of the workforce and more than 50% of the GDP. Yet the current crisis and outbreak has left many of these businesses in vulnerable situations, and especially those in rural and underserved communities. And we believe that working towards skills-led economy and recovery plan is crucial to helping these SMEs. As part of our economic relief and recovery efforts, we supported YBI Youth Business International with a 5 million grant to launch a rapid response and recovery program to provide support services, including helplines to more than 200,000 underserved businesses, small businesses across 32 countries in Asia Pacific and in Europe. And this is one of the example of the women-led SME in Asia Pacific. Morgan comes from a low-income household in Perth, in Australia. She started Open Hands Creative to support others to be creative through arts and workshops. Her businesses had only been open for 11 months when she was forced to close overnight because of the pandemic. And thanks to the YBI program, Morgan received coaching training that helped her develop new business models that enable her to sustain the income she would have earned by doing in-person workshops. Morgan's business is just one of the businesses that is supported by Many Rivers, who is the YBI implementing partner in Australia. Anita mentioned Google volunteers who supported some of the beneficiaries and SMEs with their skills and time through mentoring program. And Google volunteering is really a huge part of our approach. In fact, Googlers are really the superpower in our toolkit as a philanthropy. We always try and complement our funds with Googlers, and we are looking to engage hundreds of volunteers to support our grantees with either mentorship, skills-based volunteering on the short or on the long term. And that is a part of our 5-year goal to contribute 1 million volunteer hours. Over the last year, we've seen over our employees actively volunteering their skills and time through mentoring these entrepreneurs and business owners to help them learn new skills or simply just to explore new ways in digital tools. There are a couple of examples here on the slide. We had a volunteer in Taiwan who taught over 900 entrepreneurs how to use YouTube to upload engaging videos. And Pat Chua, who is a Googler from the Philippines, volunteered with the local Philippine organization QBO Innovation Hub, an implementing partner of YBI. And she was tapping in her media and digital marketing knowledge. She coached the local organizations on using different digital platforms and how to grow their businesses and how to use different resources, including free ads, credits through Google for Nonprofits. So I spoke briefly about the short term of the skills-based volunteering program that we have internally, where employees, Googlers, can volunteer their skills and time. But in addition to that, we also have something that is called Google.org Fellowship Program that allows Googlers to do 3 to 6 months full-time pro bono work with an organization. We send our volunteers who can embed with the organization and help them achieve their goals. I'm really excited that we have the first fellowship program in APAC, where 9 Google.org fellows will support our past AI Impact Challenge winner, Badvani AI in India, to build an AI-based tool to allow smallhold farms in India to better manage pests and reduce cotton crops loss. This application has been piloted with more than 20,000 farmers across 3 regions. And by the summer of 2021, it's expected to reach more than 250,000 farmers. Some of the early studies indicate that the advisory generated by this AI model will improve yields and reduce farmers' income by 12 to 15%. We are really proud to support organizations such as Youth Business International, who manage not only to help SMEs across the region, but through different skills-based trainings and mentoring, but they also managed to scale their efforts by partnering with the local implementing partners across Asia Pacific and in EMEA. Personally, as someone who was part of the nonprofit world before joining the corporate philanthropy, it is really encouraging to see how many organizations have gained confidence and became more resilient while learning new skills. And I know that we're on the right track to make learning opportunities more accessible. And then we all need to work on creating a world that really works for everyone. And if we do this right, we'll create a digital world that works for all. Thank you very much. Over to you, Anita.
Great. Thank you so much, Marija. That was absolutely fantastic. And the ability to move quickly and to scale those operations with Google support was amazing. And again, against a backdrop of a longer-term partnership with Accenture, which has also built our network's capabilities. And speaking to that will be Roshni Venkatesh, who also is joining us from Singapore, where Marija is also based. So Roshni, over to you.
Everyone, can you hear me? Okay, I've just had a very interesting time trying to get into this meeting and staying in the meeting. I have not heard anything that Anita has said or Marija, so forgive me. I've just about managed to log in. So yeah, it's quite ironical that we're talking about digital connectivity and all kinds of skills, and obviously my skills have been put to the severe test at this point. So yes, let me start sharing my video, because now I had to reboot, so my video is not on yet. Give me a second, please. Sorry about this.
Okay. Yeah, fine.
Hope you can see my slides.
Yeah, we can see Roshni. Go ahead.
All right, great. So I thought I should start with what Julie Sweet, our CEO, says on behalf of all of us, and this is really true. Over all the years that I've worked with Accenture, we really do care about the impact that we're making, whether it's our clients or communities, and it is actually quite important to us that we do it in the most responsible way. And our purpose is as a responsible business is to deliver on the promise of human ingenuity and technology, so that we are creating solutions to have the most positive impact on the communities around us. And our Skills to Succeed initiatives are right in the space of the whole employment challenge, where we're trying to help people build the skills so that they can get a job or start a business. And in this respect, I'm really delighted to and proud to be talking about the YBI Accenture partnerships, which has been prolific. And as I heard Anita say, whatever I could hear until my issue started, we've been partnering for over 15 years plus, and we've kind of seen various inflection points together as in our journey on the whole corporate citizenship and community impact space. And these numbers here on the slides, and these are just a testimony of our trust-based partnership, where we've kind of changed directions, pivoted all through. And, who thought that we would have what we did last year in terms of COVID and what it would mean and how it would upend so many of our programs. But I think, we had a good start and we had a good founding by which we could sort of quickly pivot and do the things we needed to do to make sure that we were sort of upholding the services to the entrepreneurs who needed them even more than before. So really, truly proud of this. So in terms of what is it that we've done, and reflecting back, I think we started our journey together about embedding digital acceleration and innovation and creating that kind of culture of innovative practices with YBI and their members. I think about 4 years ago. So we started with Sky's the Limit, which is a digital platform which connects entrepreneurs with mentors, and loads of Accenture volunteers have supported. A lot of technology pro bono support has been provided as well, and it was really great that this was there, because now more than ever, this is the primary mode by which are able to connect to the support that they need to conduct their businesses. We also 2 years ago started on this concept of having innovation challenges, primarily geared towards the network members, and it has seen a lot of success. So we've done two. I think we're going to be embarking on our third one now. And then we've also had what we've called the Digital Accelerator. So this started in 2018 in Latin America, where we had several partners participate in a kind of regional digital accelerator mode. And this is now in 2020 also been taken to other countries, including India, Bangladesh, and a few others, where because I think when we did the first accelerator, it was all about how would you design for solutions for a commonly felt need or problem across the network, and how would you design for it, and then kind of get into a mode of actually creating solutions and piloting them. And I think in terms of the learning curve and the experience curve of the members, it's been quite phenomenal to see how successful these accelerators have been. And I dare say there's probably going to be another one coming up soon, which is going to be equally exciting. I just thought that I would sort of just distill, what really was the benefit of Sky's the Limit, for example, for the person. It was really that, in such uncertain times, which are quite volatile and anxiety provoking, the ability to connect with a mentor who knows how to coach you through these times is very important. And I think that really was the benefit that was delivered during this time. And then when we actually look at the whole digital accelerator piece, what was the main benefit there? It was really about sort of upskilling all of the members who were participating so that they could be sort of doing this on their own going forward. So in fact, Accenture has created a sort of self-service kind of tool, which can be taken and run by the members themselves, with, of course, help and coaching from YBI, of course, and other members who have already participated in this. But the beauty of that is that YBI is kind of owning and driving it forward, which is really quite phenomenal. We also launched some of these immediate responses to the crisis. So SOS mentoring, again, was about meeting that need. I think Anita had spoken about sort of the need to kind of be emotionally resilient and the fact that, you needed that support. So these were activities that were already happening within the initiative that we partnered on. So the growth and performance training and the SOS mentoring were happening, but in more traditional formats. And what we did when COVID happened and we needed to kind of shift things, it was kind of immediately digitalized, and these were sort of on priority to be digitalized. Again, like I mentioned, we felt like we were preparing for this kind of era, right, where nobody could meet in person, and we had to kind of deliver everything online. We also delivered a virtual ways of working playbook, and this was really quite inspiring because many volunteers came together, and we literally sort of stood this up, I think, in a fortnight or something, alongside very closely. YBI, in fact, because YBI was our first partner to actually take the playbook and run training sessions for the members, to basically for the members to understand what it means to be operating in this new world, and to then be able to have the capability to deliver all of those services and build their own kind of competence in that. So in terms of, again, I mean, what was the benefit? The benefit was really to make sure that for those people who are kind of at a loss and who are disconnected, and we've all been disconnected, throughout this. I think that's been the sort of theme of this year. But we kind of pivoted so strongly to be able to make sure that people are not feeling, that much disconnected, and are able to get the advice that they need to actually, pivot their businesses, to see what new things they could be doing and trying out, all with sort of, guidance from mentors as well as YBI. From an Accenture perspective, I mean, of course, last year was I mean, this time last year we didn't know what was happening, and then we were scrambling.
Hi, yeah. Roshni, this is Namita. I just wanted to request if you could try and wrap up quickly. I just want to make sure we have enough time in the end for questions. There's a lot of interest so.
Sure. Yeah. So no, just to say that we will continue our societal response on COVID-19 into this year and probably beyond. And these are the pillars that we're looking at, and these pillars kind of are simultaneously kind of happening. So responding, providing emergency response, providing this virtualization kind of work under the recover pillar, and then rebuilding, which is more longer term, which is sort of reskilling, skilling in kind of industries and new sorts of roles. And we hope to continue to sort of be in that spirit of, working together transparently with our partners, making sure that we're listening to them, making sure that we're kind of solving for the entrepreneurs, for the people who actually need the support, and so that it is actually meaningful to them as we navigate uncertain waters, even going down this coming year. So thank you, and I'll stop now.
Thanks a lot, Roshni. Thank you. I'm going to hand it over to Nilima now. Nilima Tipavajala. Nilima is going to bring us the other side of the perspective. I mean, she's a young entrepreneur. So over to you, Nilima. Maybe you can describe what your really pioneering enterprise is doing, and then how you struggled and managed to find solutions during this difficult time. Over to you, Nilima.
Yeah, thank you, Namita. Thank you for giving me share my opportunity. And here I am, Dr. Nilima from India, a doctor and an entrepreneur who strongly believes we are what we eat. And here is my baby, my startup. It's like a 6-year-old startup with my 6-year-old startup, Coco Tank, where we redefine the coconuts, the conventional way of consuming coconuts, giving it in a more convenient and hygienic form. Here we serve 100% natural coconut drinks, which are with coconut-based drinks, such as in a lot of variants, such as coconut mocktails, pulp shakes, vegan coffees. All are dairy-free. And we all know that. And we all know that we are gifted with the divine sources of coconut, keeping making them so special as mother's milk, as being only 2 sources in the nature of monolaurin, keeping it so special. And we want to give it is in all, preserving all the goodness without altering it. So this is how the idea of Coco Tank began when I was pregnant, where I got stuck with severe morning sickness. Doctor advised me to put a coconut water as a diet. So this is how my idea of Coco Tank began. And we had done a pilot study in a city, in a locality in our city, the idea of fortifying coconut water with fruit juices was taken very welcoming. And only with the idea we started, and we do not know how to move forward because I being a non-entrepreneur background, and I do not know how to take this idea to a stage of business. So I was very fortunate to have YBI and BYST. YBI and BYST. So I met in an awareness generation program where I was made to present my idea to the counselor. They trained me and guided me how to present the idea for the bank. Me in getting a fund of about 5,880 pounds from the bank, which was my initial investment from the bank to start the business. But only the fund is not sufficient for a business to grow or sustain. You know, the first 1,000 days of an entrepreneurship is so crucial that within this 1,000 days, any entrepreneur could experience the setbacks, a lot of setbacks that would prevent him or her going further. The beauty of BYST and YBI is that the handholding support they give during these crucial times by assigning a mentor who guides us in every precise step we do and to achieve our goal or to achieve our mission. So I was very lucky enough. I was assigned a mentor, Mr. Ashok Kumar Gupta, who is from a refrigeration and chillers manufacturing background, where his expertise and experience helped me a lot in designing my business and putting it in a forward way. And also the post-loan sessions given by the organization is really phenomenal things where every minute point has been described to us, whether they may be from a non-entrepreneur background, whatever may be the stage of the person or the level of the comprehensions, they put it in a very simpler way and an easier way that they take us to adopt these conditions and move to ahead. With all the things, I have set up a store in 2017, and there was no looking back since then. Within 2 years of time, we have moved to 9 online outlets. So within these 2 years, we also received a national record and a gold medal for our business. And we also won JCI Excellence Award. And our case study got published in renowned international journal, Emerald Journal too. So all was going very well and everything was functioning very, very well and everything was going very smoothly. And in 2020 January, we had put all our investment and open up an exclusive walk-in store in a prime location in our city. And we also set up a factory, keeping in a mind of our vision to move forward. And as you all know that the pandemic has hit us in the March. No one can ever imagine that we have invested everything we had, everything we earned in the business, and we lost everything by the month of April. This was a real, very, very tough time that we had to see the bottom of the business. And this is that time where BYST and YBI have been behind putting their hands on our shoulder, keeping our confidence boosted, morale integrated. We felt that we are at a safe place and connecting to the persons of our similar kind and mentoring, giving mentoring at this crucial point is really, really a welcoming, heart-touching and a welcoming thing that we could never ever forget in our life. Right from our emotional development and how to handle the situations, they have covered every minute point, like how to set the processes and how to accelerate to digitally, how to transform digitally. They have covered every segment in this, and which helped us a lot. You can't even believe, within 10 days after lockdown, after the sessions have been happening, we bounced back with adding a new vertical to our business with immune boosting drinks, which have been like to combat the situations of Corona. So this has helped us a lot. And we as an organization believes the employees are the pillars of the organization and we want to maintain their integrity. So to support the female employees in our organization, we started with a vertical handmade chocolates for them. And to support male employees in our organization, we started with sanitization services, pertaining to the current situations. So before COVID, we used to have only one business, and this pandemic has taught us two features, that is resilience and agility, and forced us to embrace the changes of digitalization, and we realized really the importance of digital presence. As we all noticed that every business has got cramped, but the only business sustained are the who had marked their presence in the digital world. They have been doing very well. So this gave us an idea to rethink ourselves to move digitally, and the sessions have helped us a lot. In any point of the things, when we are through our journey of digitalization, our Google is the point of reference. If for any reference we want or anything we want to learn or adopt the new things, we used to come back to Google it, refer it, and implement the changes in it. With this structured knowledge, we were able to build the process which have been enabling the business to run without us. So we have shaped our entire business as a process-oriented business and the worker-dependent business. So I'm really thankful to this pandemic, because the pandemic is the impacted the business. Lack of planning and lack of digital presence and lack of that ability has really made a great change in us, in fact. After realizing this importance and setting the processes and systems, we are moving with 3x pace with 3 businesses, with a mission in a mind to take forward, with a mission in a mind to serve more than 10 lakh units, that is 10 million units of cocoa tang in this 2021 year. With a greater pace, we are moving with a great hope. And we also feel this pandemic is too precious, and it made us to embrace the changes and move digitally. With this, I also this is a I what.
Thank you. Thank you.
And last but not the least, it's entrepreneurs. We strongly believe that entrepreneurs are the real heroes of any nation who contribute a lot to the society. And the organizations like BYST and YBI are the manufacturers and sculptors of such entrepreneurs who have been handholding in these tough times. And I'm really thankful and grateful to them. And I'm very fortunate to be a part of BYST and YBI family. Thank you, one and all. And this is Nilima from India.
Thank you, Nilima. I must say, from comments in the chat, a lot of people are feeling energized by what you said and also very inspired. So thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. And I agree with the last statement you made, that actually we need more people like you. So I know that we have very little time for questions. This seems to be a typical problem with our webinars, that we run out of time. So I just want to maybe quickly go to the panel with a few questions. And one was, I mean, I think the constant theme we heard in this session was the role of pivoting and being agile. You know, Nilima said I had to be agile, and Anita also said the importance of pivoting. And then along with that, I was also struck by something Marija said about the role of being data driven. And that made me think, and I wonder if, Anita, you could talk a little bit about, you know, when you pivot, when you advise a company or an enterprise to pivot, you need to have sort of your ear on the ground to see what are the new markets where there might be an opportunity, especially in this difficult phase. There was really no market out there. So how did you go about, you know, just building also on what Marija said, the importance of data? Did you do any specific market assessment to see what might be markets that are growing. And again, similar question to Maria. Did you see during the pandemic some innovations in how data was being collected so that businesses could pivot towards markets that had an opportunity? So that was something that I was thinking about, but a question for Anita and Maria. And then maybe I'll just ask a couple questions that I see in the chat. And then I'll turn it over to the panel. So there's a question from Lakshmi. Hi, Lakshmi. Very nice that you were able to join. Lakshmi, CEO of BYST, that has also supported Nilima, based in India. And her question is a really profound one, which is, the really mentoring, especially one-on-one, is by definition micro. I mean, you have to have a relationship, you have to invest in a one-on-one relationship for it really to work. So how do you take something which is effective at a micro? How do you really take it to scale? How do you take it to scale? And so really, this is a question for all of us. So any insights on that would be great. That's a great, thank you, Lakshmi. And there's a question from Marija saying, it's a question for Accenture particularly, that given the diverse starting points of organizations, how has Accenture approached the digitization process? So that's a question for Accenture. And then there's another question from Natasha. She's asking, in what ways have entrepreneurs been supported to access business finance, and what are the gaps? And I imagine the gap is huge. But those are some questions that I see. Okay, maybe as more questions come up, I will, and if we have time, but you to the panel, maybe you want to go first, Anita.
Sure, and mindful of time, I think that we didn't do a big global market assessment of where the opportunities were, but our members were doing it on the ground and we were sharing that knowledge across. And then, of course, some of it was quite individual. And not surprisingly, a lot of the opportunities were in the health and related area, the protective equipment area, things to do with agriculture, food and delivery and so forth. So I'm sure we have all heard of many examples of people who were in one way or another involved in the fashion industry, immediately converting to the production of masks and gowns and so forth, either at consumer or at health level. In the food world, and apart from kind of established businesses, offering kind of a delivery arm, in many places, businesses have stopped doing what they're doing and have turned into kind of food producers or delivery. And I know from our members in Africa, recognizing that delivery of supplies involves motorcycles or bodabodas, they've then supported people to operate more in the repair sector, for bodaboda. And earlier, the example was given of a woman in Australia who offered creative classes. And of course, there's lots of people who are operating in the orange or creative industries. And immediately, a lot of them converted to digital. So it was the same business, but offered in a digital way. And I think what a lot of them have developed is real communities, rather than just providing exercise or crafts or whatever it happened to be, but communities of engagement, which is what people really, really wanted. So it was either taking what your fundamental skill was and applying it to what was needed. You hear the case of Nilima. She didn't change the fact that she was doing a drink. She changed the way she sold it, and she highlighted the fact that this could help with your health at this time. So I think that was a key one. And others will speak to mentoring at scale, but obviously digital platforms help. You've heard of Sky's the Limit earlier on. But interestingly, one of our members in Israel decided at this moment to actually do group mentoring, all done virtually, of course, but they had groups of mentees and groups of mentors operating at a group level because that was accelerating the learning much more quickly. You're on mute.
Changing business model. I mean, that's a good point, Anita, but it's also how you're doing your business. The digital presence was important. Maria, over to you.
Thank you so much, Namita. It's such a great question. And as I mentioned, so quite often from Google.org side, we rely on our grantees because they're experts on the ground. And we want to learn from them based on their data that they have been using from various countries, and to really understand what will be most helpful to these SMEs and vulnerable populations. And based on that, what is really interesting and what is really inspiring to see, given that, for example, Asia Pacific region is such a diverse region, so there is not one solution that organization can take in order to address different SMEs, the local SMEs, or different vulnerable populations. So one of the examples that, an additional example that I will give is a organization that we supported called the Asia Foundation. And we supported them with a $3 million grant to train 200,000 MSMEs and vulnerable people across 10 ASEAN countries. Their approach was very similar to what YBI has done, and that is working with the local implementing organizations and really truly understanding from those local organizations what are the needs of the populations that they serve. What is the data that they already have, and based on that data to pivot their approach and in order to address those vulnerable populations. For example, the challenges that they have experienced that the local populations are experiencing in Vietnam or in Laos, where people and SMEs do not know how to use digital tools online, or they just use it for entertainment, is completely different from the challenges that the organizations and people are facing here in Singapore, where most of the people know how to leverage technology. They know how to use different digital tools online. So the approach that they're taking here, based on the data that they have, is that they're working with the local organizations and people here to leverage technology, to host hackathon, to create new solutions that will help SMEs and people with disabilities. So,
sorry, Maria, I know we've run out of time, and I did want to give Roshni just maybe literally 10 seconds to respond to the question that was addressed to her.
Thank you.
The advantage of going last is that before you have said a lot of the things that you were thinking of yourself. The only thing I will add, and taking fully on board, Maria's point about saying every place is different. I think we need to hyper localize, our approaches. And I mean, if you wanted to do a market scan, it needs to be really granular. And you really need to sort of be able to kind of tailor that approach for that particular situation, that context. So I think designing with and not for the people that we are working with is probably one of the most important things. And I think, we're going to be in an era which is even more VUCA than when we were talking about it theoretically. So my sense is that we're going to need to be, therefore, far more practical and far more grounded in the realities, as opposed to kind of, having a broad brush stroke of various things. So I think that's one of the key things. Namita, sorry, not less than 10 seconds.
No, but I like that, designing with and not for. I love that. And Nilima, maybe you the last question, and again, just take 10 seconds and say, what is the kind of financing gap as an entrepreneur you experienced, or maybe speaking on behalf of the entrepreneur community? Is it really, for you, was the struggle particularly startup capital? Was it working capital? Was it capital that could, you could have funding for longer? Was it the tenor of the loan? I mean, specifically, what is that funding that you needed or an entrepreneur need at the moment? And 10 seconds.
In fact, when coming to the innovative startups, most of the banks or the financial institutions do not come forward to fund on the innovative ideas. They only fund on the proven models. This is the gap where we find when any entrepreneurs think innovative or disruptive way of out of the box, most of the financial institutions won't fund at this stage until the model is proven. The actual gap. This is the actual requirement for any startup or for any business to move forward. The first is the initial where they need to prove themselves.
Yeah, good point. That when a model is not proved and proven already, it's hard to convince a formal financial institution to take that risk. I think that's very rightly said. But we're also seeing a lot of problems that entrepreneurs and startups face to grow their business, and if they've got that initial risk capital, to scale up their business is another particular challenge we hear. Obviously we have run out of time, but I think this was really wonderful. There are so many issues that we could go on talking about. I think it was important to hear about the role of pivoting, being agile, the really important role of mentoring and how you design it, particularly so that it's effective in a difficult phase. I also was struck by how leading corporates can really make an impact just by volunteering. I mean, I was really inspired, both from Google and Accenture, the role that you can play just with your volunteering. I was struck that that's a really transformational kind of an input that you can put in the mix to partner up with innovative NGOs like YBI. And then I love the point that you made in the end, Roshni, about really the importance of local, like really having a big hard-nosed and sort of really contextualized solutions. I think that is really important. So thank you so much. I know some of you may have questions that were not answered because we ran out of time. I hope this is just the first of a conversation. And let us know if you would like to continue this conversation, even in a small, informal format. We are happy to do that. So thank you. And again, a big thank you to our wonderful panelists. Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Marija. Thank you, Roshni. And thank you, Ma, for putting the icing on the cake with your inspiring story. So thank you all and have a good rest of your day. Thank you for joining us.